A couple years ago, I had some issues with my marriage. We separated, split up. Things got really bad. A lot of people would say that you're not coming back from that. There's no way. And my story was a pretty dire situation, and I got it back.
You just got to be coachable.
Men, the admission for today's video is only one thing. Press that like button, but more importantly for you, press the subscribe button. Make sure after you hit the subscribe button that you do change those settings to all, and I don't want you to miss one single video that could actually help you save your marriage.
Today I'm with Vance. Vance is on with me today sharing his experience of what the DivorceStoppers program has done for him and his personal life, helping him level up in his leadership. He's going to talk about where he was before the program, personally, spiritually, physically, intellectually, character, and emotional, and where he's at today. We just want to know your full-blown experience. So I appreciate you coming on today. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
So first thing I wanted to go is basically start, what caused you to actually start reaching out for leadership help that ultimately led you to finding me, and what was the path that you took to find me and ultimately join the DivorceStoppers program?
Well, a couple years ago, I had some issues with my marriage. We separated, split up. Things got really bad. I was actually in a different program, and it actually worked out pretty decent. I got my wife back, and things were good for a while.
What program was that? So they have credit.
Bulletproof Husband.
Okay, gotcha.
Some certain things happened that I felt like were kind of out of my control in a way. Some outside things caused my marriage to get wrecked again.
Right.
And I was in a place where I didn't even want the marriage back. It was like, I fought so hard to get it back the last time. And I was like, I can't go round two. I'm done. And then I felt like God was sending me messages to get back up and fight, you know?
Right.
And then I saw some videos on standing for your marriage and this and that. And I don't know, I saw a video of yours, and you know, you weren't a fan of standing for your marriage, and this.
It's not that I'm not a fan of standing for your marriage. I'm not a fan.
I know what you.
I'm not a fan of standing from your marriage from the connotation of Standers United, stand for the marriage. I don't like using God as a crutch. Yeah.
Yeah, like just letting God handle it and doing nothing about it. So, anyway, I started watching your videos. I liked them. And I was like, man, maybe I'll go round two, try this again. And I felt like there was a few things in your program that were slightly different from the other.
Yeah.
And like the communication. Yeah. Communication was one. I think texting her in the right way and communicating with her in the right way was key, because like talking to her in person was tough. And it was even tough for me just talking to her. Like I honestly did not want to. At the beginning, I just kind of knew I needed to do something. I still loved my wife, and I put my feelings aside and did what I needed to do.
So let me ask you a question. What caused you to come into this program? What caused you to come into this program versus going back to do the other program again?
I think it was the communication part was key. Like, I think in the other program, you know, they taught us to try and ask your wife questions and get her to open up, which never really worked out too well for me. It just pissed my wife off most of the time. And then one of the things you said was like, you don't need to work on the marriage. And I kind of put that into practice. I was like, I don't need to work on this. Like, I don't need to sit there and constantly ask her, what's the matter? What's the problem? Let's talk about our feelings. You know, if she wants to go that route, you know, I'm there to do that, you know, and I'll be a solid rock, which the other program was good at. They taught you to be a solid rock and not, you know, get in your emotions and flip out when she does stuff. So that was good. But I think trying not to work on the marriage was a key thing. And, you know, when we did have contact, you know, I tried to be positive, polite, and playful. And I also tried to be like masculine, you know, short to the point, not get into deep feelings and a lot of that mess. Cause a lot of times that led down to rabbit holes that I couldn't get out of. Like, she would take stuff I would say the wrong way, and we'd end up in arguments.
Yeah. The feminine wants the masculine to communicate in a way that she's that 20-pound bottle of Valium that can't be phased. That's not exclusive to your wife. It's not exclusive to mine. That's all women. And it does not matter what the roles are outside of the marriage. And what I mean by that is I've got a lot of friends in the coaching industry where it's women that are the owners of the coaching company. And when they go to work, they're the alpha CEOs that run 500 employees. But when they come home, yeah, is it normal for them to bring that home as a woman the same way that a man does? Absolutely it is. So
Yeah.
the point that I was saying there is that it doesn't matter what the wife does. So at her work, she can be an alpha. But when she comes home, now the tendency may be to walk in the door to also be an alpha. But how do you lead her out of that? And one of the reasons that a relationship gets in trouble, I would say probably 99% of the students that come in the Divorce Stoppers program, their wife is communicating in the masculine. And it is very natural that when a woman does that, for the man to respond in the feminine. That's something that can be easily changed. Well, how do you change it? You change what you're thinking about the communication. And it's not common sense. The Bible says to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. If that was just common sense to change how you're thinking, then it wouldn't need to be in the Bible. People would just organically and naturally do that. But I think what that scripture is telling us is there's a way. You mentioned God led you to do something differently. God uses two different things to help people. He uses angels. I know from experience, I personally have seen them, but he also uses people to do that work. Find somebody that can help you take the first step, but it's up to you to take the step, like what you were saying. If it is to be, it's up to me. I'm going to paraphrase what you're just saying. Your wife is responding well to you being the 20-pound bottle of Valium that can't be phased. If she pivots into the feminine, she doesn't want you to do the same thing. My wife would paraphrase that. She'll tell me, if she's having a bitch fit, that doesn't mean she wants me to respond with one. She wants me to be the 20-pound ball of Valium, so she knows that I'm stable, emotionally safe, because for a woman, emotional safety and physical safety, their brain relates that as the same thing. Let me ask you this. I was at a place where I was at an all-time low, and you said you had walked that experience before, and you kind of did what majority of people do. You get things back on track. It's going okay. Maybe you didn't learn communication skills that were required to have a sustainable marriage that was going to be on point, that psychologically could lead you to emotional safety long-term. And so you did what a lot of people do. You got off track, the marriage got in trouble again, which is actually one of the reasons that we made the Divorce Stoppers program a lifetime program. But let me ask you this. What was the experience like as a man the second time that you found yourself in this situation? You mentioned that you weren't even sure if you wanted it. You know, when my wife and I got separated, do you know the reason for our physical separation? I don't know if you've ever heard me say it.
I probably have, but
I literally said, I wanted a divorce, get the F out of my house. And here's the thing. I didn't want a divorce. I didn't. But I knew that I didn't want the marriage the way that it was. And I was hopeful that would change her when I said this, to prompt her to change, to get her to see the error of her ways. And for some reason, it didn't work. When I told her that I wanted a divorce, instead, she left me, got on an airplane, and actually filed a divorce. So now here I am sitting in a big house by myself, single for the first time in my life, and realized I had made a mistake. When you went through that the second time, what was your experience like emotionally? I was in a place where death would have been easier than what I was going through. What about you in that situation?
I think so I had thrown the divorce card out the first time around. So I did the same thing. I didn't mean it, but I was mad. I had no control of my emotions. I just said whatever. I went in that other program. I'd kind of gotten that fixed, but then it kind of creeped back later when other stuff started happening.
Yeah.
But the second time around, man, at first I was like, screw this, I'm done, whatever, she go do what she wants. I really probably meant that at the time.
Yeah.
And then as it went on, I was like, all right, I was depressed. I wasn't feeling good. I just anxious. And I was like, I've done this before. I can do it again. And, but I was
was your weight fluctuating? Were you losing a lot of weight?
No, I'll say that I learned a lot for the first time around. So like I had my fitness, I had my job, I had a lot of things on track, on point. Like a lot of people were like, man, like Vance has his stuff together, like what's she doing, So I think there was just a couple things that I was missing that, flipped the switch back on.
Let me ask you this. You did a program, got your marriage back on track. Fast forward, the marriage gets in trouble again, and there's something that's off, that maybe you didn't learn the first go around. And so at what point did you get back out there and start looking for help? Did you find us on YouTube or TikTok, or where did you end up finding us? And what was the path that led you? Like, what were you looking for and what led you to Divorce Stoppers?
Found you on YouTube, and I think what you said about communication was key, because that was kind of different from the other program. Not working on the marriage was key, because I looked back on it, even after I felt like I got things back on track, I kept trying to work on it. Like, even though I didn't need to, like, I realized, I was like, man, that must be a mistake. Cause like I was, it seemed like I had everything worked out, and I was pressuring her like, oh, let's read the Bible. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's go do this. It's just constant. Let's make this better. And like, I probably pushed her too much,
Well,
so
you hear me say this inside the program all the time. Stop working on the fucking marriage. Working on the marriage is exactly what's not going to work. Why? Because what it is, when you decide to work on something, you're like, okay, hey, let's go do this. And why do you want to go do this? Because you're expecting the end result to be XYZ. And if the end result is not XYZ, because maybe that day the partner, the other person, whether it's in marriage or one of your colleagues at work, if they're just not feeling it at that moment, then it puts pressure on them to perform. Or another way to word that is it makes them feel responsible for your happiness, because if they don't perform, they know you're going to be unhappy. So now it's weight on top of weight on top of weight. And when you do that enough, particularly in a marriage, that pressure that you're putting on your spouse it's always going to find an outlet to let off steam. We call it the pressure relief valve, which a lot of times is the reason people have affairs, or they'll always end up, hooking up with an enemy of the marriage or something like that. May not be in their best interest, but for them, they think it's in the best interest, because the human mind is only designed to take so much pressure. And a woman's mind is not designed to take as much pressure as a man, whether that's in a marriage or in a business. It's just not designed the same way. And so when you start putting that kind of pressure on somebody, it's a defense mechanism to protect their sanity, to find some place to let the pressure go. Now, in a great relationship, you do that within the marriage. How? What's a great pressure relief valve? Listening through communication. Stop working on your marriage and hang out, have fun, with the ultimate goal to hook up, which is the next level of playful in the 3 Ps, positive, play, and playful. I would say it's probably one of the funnest parts of playful. Your experience of that, though, that was a radical difference in learning how in step 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4 in the program, literally the first steps in the program, how we use communication to learn how to make marriage fun again. How fast did that work for you? Or did it work in the beginning?
It worked. The process took a little longer than I wanted, but she definitely started communicating with me. It got to the point where, she was messaging me, she was venting to me. And every time if she got upset, I was still positive, polite, and playful, no matter what happened, and sometimes it was tough, but again, I was like you said, ball of Valium, I was trying not to let things get to me. And I think another thing that I liked in your program, it talked about going out, getting alive, doing things, before I was stuck up my wife's butt. I went to work, I did all those things. I very successful, but when I came home, I was stuck up my family's butt. And so I think one of the things I realized is like, all right, I need to go out, hang out with other people, go do things. And I started doing that, and even now that we're back together, I noticed that when I go out and hang out with people and come back, she's usually happier. She's, it is what it is. She comes back home and says, hey babe, did you have fun? Yeah. And, I don't have to be up her butt.
I want to share something. So for anybody watching this video right now, as Vance is sharing his experience of the changes that he made for himself and how it affected everybody around him in his life. Yes, with his wife, but maybe other people as well. And you can share their experience as well. But one of the things I want to point out is you kind of brought up a title of a lot of YouTube videos is give her space? Do they need space? And that's taught from a different perspective of what makes sense. So you're just sharing when you go out and do stuff, walking in your masculine leadership, pursuing your calling, looking for other places to keep your emotional health healthy, and not putting that responsibility on your wife, but you're taking ownership of the responsibility to do what you need to do for your emotional well-being, for your emotional health. And in essence, your plane's going down. It makes sense to put your own oxygen mask on first. When you're putting your wife first in marriage, the way the gurus are teaching, that actually puts pressure on her, and in reality puts her last, because she don't want to be first. She wants you to put yourself first, meaning take care of the responsibilities to do what you need to do to be a healthy, emotional, stable, happy, masculine man, so that when you guys are in marriage, she's happy because she's with a healthy man in a healthy relationship, and he's not dying, putting the responsibility for a good life on his wife. That's what makes sure you have a good life together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I've definitely figured that out, because in the past I was like, oh, if I go hang out with these people, she's going to be home alone by herself. I don't want to leave her out. I don't want to leave my kids out, and it's like,
Yeah.
what's wrong with me going to play kickball or go play softball or go play baseball with my friends? Like, that's what I used to do when we first were together. She liked me back then.
100%. That's what she fell in love with you like that, right?
Yeah.
That's the right way to give space. What's being taught now is to give space. You should allow a trial separation and split households and all this stupid stuff that doesn't work. When you don't give somebody space within the marriage, they're going to start saying, I need space, which is another way for, I'm going to test what it's like to be out of the marriage. We want to give space within the marriage in a way that's healthy, that helps us land the plane emotionally, because we're healthy. It's called masculine leadership. Let me ask you this. You found yourself in the same boat again, so to speak. You come into the program, you meet the other students, first thing in iron sharpens iron. What did that do for your demeanor to see the other students, but maybe even more importantly, to see the results that they were having right when you started? I'd like to know your experience of that. Was it different than the other program you had been in before? If I were to say we're doing away with that part of it, how would it make a difference?
The other program was kind of similar. They had people posting wins and stuff.
Yeah.
But the posting the wins is definitely helpful. Like, seeing what other people are doing and getting success. It's, kind of gives you some encouragement, and then getting on there and trying to encourage other people, and then having people reach out to you and encourage you. It's definitely helpful. Like, when you're alone doing it by yourself, it can get tough for sure. You need other people to help pull you through, and you need the right people to pull you through. Because I had a lot of people, telling me the wrong things to do, and you kind of have to push them out and, get with your band of brothers and
who were the people that were telling you the wrong things to do, and what were they telling you that was wrong?
Just friends and family, just saying, move on, she don't deserve you, stuff like that. It's too late.
Yeah.
It's never going to be the same.
They're going to say that. Why are they going to say that? They may love her, but they also love you. And one of the reasons that friends and family say that is because true marriage restoration, you can ask 1,000 people, have you ever seen somebody file for a divorce? Have you ever seen somebody in a separation? Have you ever seen somebody, their marriage was in trouble? And then depending on how far it was in trouble, have you ever seen a marriage in this situation restored? Ask 1,000 people, 999 of them will say, no, I never have. So friends and family that love you, they're going to give you advice based on their feelings, because what they see that you're trying to do, it's never been done. They've never seen it, so they don't have a vision for it. So it's out of the good intentions. Why are they telling you that? If they really care about you, and you're like, I want my family back, I want my marriage restored, I want the life the way I pictured it, I want that back. Why are they going to give you advice like that? Because they don't think it's possible, and they see that Vance, their family member, their brother, their son, whatever, he's hurting. Who wants their family member that they love that's hurting? Who wants their friend that they love that's hurting? Who wants to see them continue to hurt? So what's their idea for you to get out of it? To get out of it. That way you can take the first step in moving past something that's never going to be restored, because that's what they see. If there's somebody watching this video right now, their friends and their family is saying, get out of it, what's the advice that you would give that guy?
I would just say, don't give up. Like, I had a lot of stuff happen during this last couple of years, and a lot of people would say that you're not coming back from that. There's no way. And my story, I don't want to get into it, but mine was a pretty dire situation, and I got it back. So don't listen to those people.
On a scale of 1 to 10, as far as it being gone, how far would you say you were on that scale?
About 9.5.
Yeah. I know that your other brothers that have kind of watched your experience, maybe not specifically in your marriage, but also in your marriage, but also like in your leadership, where you were when you took that first step. We call it the 0 to the hero state. It was in a very, very, I would say, unique place. And for me to say that's kind of rare. And when I say unique, I would say unique in a not so good way.
Yeah. I mean, there was instances where I was like, all right, this is coming together. And then it's like, it fell apart, and it came back together, and then it fell apart, and I don't think it's necessarily my fault. There was, like I said, some outside forces and other things going on, but just, I stayed consistent, did the 3 Ps, kept living my life, kept being a rock. My wife would vent to me and do other things, and I was there, and it eventually happened. I don't think, I'm sure there's other people that was as tough as mine, but I think mine was pretty tough. But it happened. So
let me ask you this. One of the things I talk about in my videos, in particular also in the program, is SPICE, your spiritual, physical, intellectual, character, and emotional attractiveness. As you were making changes yourself, for yourself, but also for anybody that you had any type of relationship with, friends, family members, which is what we teach in the program. We don't want you to manipulate other people. We don't want you to manipulate your situation, your circumstances, or yourself. This is about true masculine leadership to teach you how to build intimacy where you see, hear, and value every relationship that you have with every person. That way, the changes that you're making, they're real on the inside, they're lasting, and they're permanent. And it's always a base, a foundation, where if you do drift off course or you mess up, it's a foundation that you built for yourself here. It's called your reticular activating center, which is activated through neuroplasticity. So it's a real thing where we can actually see the brain changes. The Bible says to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. We now know that as you're actually taking steps to be transformed by the renewing of your mind, we can see those changes biologically happen. Meaning we could do a scan of your brain today, and I guarantee you anything, if I were to take an image of your brain today versus when I first met you, I know for a fact that it would biologically look different. Do you believe that?
Oh yeah. When I first started this, I was a wreck. I mean, I felt like, man, I won her back the first time, and it was kind of tough. And now I'm doing this again. I was just like, I was not in the right place at that time. Like, not good. And, started going through the program, like you said, SPICE. One of the things, I'd go to work. This is something I've always done, but I'm like, all right, I go to work, and it's all business. I'm here to get stuff done. I'm here to do this, do that. Like, I didn't care to have relationships with other people. I didn't care to talk to other people. I didn't care to and I kind of started flipping my mindset, listening to your videos and stuff. I'm like, okay, I need to start being positive and polite and playful with everyone. I need to be smiling. I need to, if someone's in the hallway, I can go talk to them and say, hey, how was your day? Blah, blah, blah. Have conversations,
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be, Vance on the grind constantly 24/7, So that's one of the mindsets I kind of changed, and I think it helps at home in my relationship. It's like, I was all business at home. sometimes,
Yeah, I'm going to paraphrase what you're saying. You were a normal man in a normal marriage. And so let me ask you a question. As you started taking advantage of opportunities to see yourself through a different set of eyes, and equally importantly, to see your life through a new set of eyes, which was a window into seeing value in other people and how you could go serve them with a question of sincere concern, sincere and genuine interest. Did you start seeing that you showing up to serve other people's by being interested in what was going on in their life? Let me paraphrase that. When you started actually making a decision to enjoy your life, other people got value out of that. Did you see that the law of reciprocity was manifested? Meaning, as you start serving people with your genuine interest, what did that do for you? What did that bring back to you?
A lot of you thinking, well, I've got to become the best version of myself if I want my marriage restored. I've got to go change. I've got to go do everything differently. All the stuff that she told me of the reason she wants out of the marriage, I've got to go change those things. If you've already done all of that, but it hasn't worked, put that in the comments if that's you. Have you become the man that she said she's always wanted, but it's not enough? Maybe you were an alcoholic. Maybe you were a controlling narcissist. Maybe you were a psychopath. Maybe you were verbally abusive. Maybe you weren't intimate with her. Maybe you didn't value her opinion. But now all of a sudden, you do all of those things, but it still hasn't worked. Here's the question. Put in the comments if you have realized that that's not enough. You changing is a beautiful thing, and that's probably a requirement.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be enough to save the marriage if she has confirmation bias.
Yeah.
You've got to lead her to change.
Did you see that the law of reciprocity was manifested? Meaning, as you start serving people with your genuine interest, what did that do for you? What did that bring back to you?
I noticed at work that people would start coming up to me more, and they were more interested in helping me, do things like, oh, do you need help with this, Vance? Or they would like, hey, do you need a drink or do you need this? People would actually come up to me and try and have conversations and try and hang out. As before, it was when people came up to me, it was all business. It was just, I know Vance can get it done. I'll ask him. And that was the end of the conversation. Made more friendships and was a happier person. I think everyone felt the vibe, and everyone's vibe changed with me as well. So
I want you to repeat after me. Are you open to a short exercise?
Sure.
Because I start the evolution in your mind. The goal of the program is to evolve your mind. By the way, I don't believe that we crawled up out of the ocean as fish and became monkeys and then people. I don't believe in that. But I do think that our brains can evolve because it's even scripture, it's even biblical. Transform your mind, change it. That's the definition of evolution. So as you learn to mature your manhood, your masculinity, your identity, see yourself through different eyes, I want you to repeat after me. I am a masculine leader.
I'm a masculine leader.
Because you just literally told me that without saying it. And so a new exercise that I want you to start moving forward is about 5 times a day. I want you to tell yourself what's already became true. I'm a firm believer in speaking things that have not yet happened as if they were going to, because that's what causes them to happen, because it tells your subconscious, this is what I believe about myself, even before it's true. But for you, it's already become true. And let me prove that to you. You just explained to me how your changes changed everyone around you for the better. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, we've had very, very limited conversations about your marriage being restored, which I know that is, what I'm saying, that's spot on from talking to you before the call. But how do we restore a marriage? We change you to the point that you change everybody around you. That's the reason in the program and on my older YouTube videos, I always say, if you really want the marriage and the life you're supposed to have, you've got to change. And how do you change? The goal is to become a 1% of a 1% of a good masculine leader. And my definition of masculine leadership is very, very different than the red pill definition of masculine leadership. Masculine leadership causes other people around you to change. Why does marriage restoration not take place when a man changes in other programs? Why do 50% of my students in this program literally come from other programs? Well, there's two reasons for that answer. So far to date, we've never ran $1 in paid advertising. But I don't have anything against it. It's actually on my to-do list for next month. We're going to start doing that. What happens, particularly on YouTube, where we get a lot of students from, is the YouTube algorithm is like, it's on point. What do I mean by that? If you're needing something, YouTube will figure out who to put in front of you that's the right fit for you. It's called the ideal client avatar. And in the marketing industry, no algorithm that exists out there figured it out like YouTube. So what do I mean by that? If you go out and you find another program from a paid ad, YouTube did not serve that to you through their genius algorithm. That person typed in some keywords and they found you. But when you find the right person on YouTube, that's when you find the right thing. I am a good masculine leader. How do we know that's true about you? Because you have started the process of changing everybody else that you have anything to do with in your life. That's a 1% of a 1% man. You're just at the beginning of that journey with this new vision, the new eyes that you have, the new heart that you have. Remember, how do you know I have a new heart? We hadn't discussed my heart because the Bible says out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. What's already changed people around you is the way you're communicating with them. Your heart changed, which changed what came out here, and it changed what you're letting in here. People, events, opportunities, interest that you're now going and asking people about, the old you had zero curiosity about it because you missed those opportunities to build intimacy and to be served by those people. Do you see that? That's why that the majority of the students within 2 years of graduating from this program, 76% of students that have graduated the program between 18 and 24 months after they graduate say their income goes up more than 100%. 100% of those students say their income has went up significantly. Why is that? Their eyes have been open to see value in relationships that are literally financially valuable. You know, something I tell my grandkids all the time, I don't even say it anymore. I just look at them and I say, if you, and they know to finish the statement, if you work for God, He will put money to work for you. For somebody that's not religious, let me put that in a different way for you. If you step into your anointing and your calling to call the people that you are qualified for your, either through education or even more importantly, your life experiences, if you show up to serve people with the idea that I'm here to serve, this universe is designed to respond to that in a way that that's where the wealth comes from. At least the kind of wealth that makes you happy. Not everybody is called to be a billionaire, but I think a lot of people are. Does that make sense? Even the Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. What kind of inheritance that is, that's up to each individual, what God has planned for your life, regardless of your faith. Tell me what all that means to you, and have you seen some of this stuff that I'm saying? Am I just up here spouting off a bunch of bullshit, or have you seen this manifested in your life because of what you've learned?
No, this has happened with me. I mean, I recently got, I could go into details, but I got quite a bit of success that happened at my job because of how I changed, and a lot more friendships with other people, you know, people wanting to be friends with me and hang out and do things. You know, I can go to a party and, you know, before I gave no craps about anyone else. It was just like, hey, I'm here with my wife. We're going to hang out. Like I think even my wife had said in the past, like I never really talked to other people. I had no interest in talking to other people. Like it wasn't even on my radar. It was like, I don't need other people, you know, I'm blah, blah, blah. Like,
yep.
I'm a very confident person. Maybe I was stuck up in a way. I don't know. But now, like I can go around the room, talk to people, they'll talk to me, and I don't know, like it serves both of us. Like it helps me, it helps them, it helps everyone. But I can say that, you know, my career wise, it's helped quite a bit. I mean, drastically. So
I would go so far as to say that your new level of leadership has helped other people that you don't even know. You've helped them in their careers because you're the model for what everybody wants. Your eyes, like that song, Amazing Grace, but now I was blind, but now I see. I know that can mean a lot of different things, and I understand what the author wrote that song for. But if you kind of relate that to the changes that you've made, you were blind in a lot of areas that you've kind of brought out on this video. Now you can see. That kind of leadership changes other people. When the new version of you changes other people to the point that you're attractive to other men, you're attractive to other women. And I'm not necessarily talking in a sexual way. I'm saying there's a light inside you that's been lit that might have been there before, but it was covered up. It was dark. It was dim, and nobody saw it. Now, the new you has uncovered that beautiful light, and it's drawing other people to you. You're literally becoming a world changer. Do you see that about yourself?
No, I definitely see that. Like I said, I think this all stems from like, I was stuck up my wife's butt. I didn't really care to, talk to anyone else or do anything else. I'm like, hey, I'm a Christian. I'm here to, be there for my wife and my family. I don't need anybody else. And I think that was a bad move for sure.
Well, everybody does it. Yeah, everybody does it. And what you were saying there is you didn't even know there was a light down in there. You had a candle instead, and you were taking that to your wife saying, you have the responsibility to light this candle because I need some illumination. You're doing that to your family, which is what's normal.
Yeah. And that kind of lit up when, my wife was gone. My kids were gone half the time. I was like, oh man, I can't just sit here and die. So,
Yeah, because that's pressure and it pushes other people away. Masculine rebuilding. Now, when I say masculine rebuilding, my definition of masculine is different than 99% of the world's masculinity. Even though for many years there was an agenda to get rid of all masculinity, we're bringing it back in this program. That's part of my goal here is to bring back good masculinity, the kind of masculinity that leads others to blossom and thrive in their lives, starting with your own house, starting with your own family, your wife and your children. Where are you today compared to the man you were back when we first met you?
I think leaps and bounds better. Just being able to handle my emotions, not getting triggered when my wife's mad about something, just knowing that she's upset and it's not always my fault. Maybe it is, but most of the time it's not. It's just she's upset about something. I'm there for her. Sometimes I'm successful at calming her down, and sometimes I'm not. And I've kind of learned like, hey, I tried. I'm not gonna beg. I'm not gonna like chase. I'm not gonna push her away. Usually I give her space and then she comes right back to me,
Yeah, because sometimes people just need a minute. Sometimes a wife, a woman, a daughter, she needs to have a breakdown. She needs to cry. She needs to blow up. And she's an adult and she's a human and she should have the opportunity, if that's what she wants to do, to make the decision to do that. That's what I say in the program. If you really want the life that you want and you want to have the people that you love in it, right? The way that you show up as a different person that's a leader is even if they're doing something that's not in their best interest in your opinion, and you can't see everything, so your opinion could be wrong, you've got to give them permission to fail, fall, and fuck up because that's how they grow. Do you really want a relationship with anybody, friends, family, wife, children, where their life is stagnant and stifled and they're not growing? Nobody wants that. And you don't want to be responsible for them not growing by controlling their emotions and saying, this is how it needs to be. Give them permission to fail, fall, and fuck up. That lets them bloom, make mistakes, and grow as people. Everybody's growing. A man in a relationship that stifles his family and his wife will actually cause them to not feel like adults, where they can't find themselves because they don't have the freedom to be themselves. What's part of being themselves? I know I teach a program on to be a 20-pound bottle of Valium that can't be phased. There's moments in my life where I'll go in the bathroom and just go somewhere quiet where it's just me and God and scream at the top of my lungs and just let shit out, because I'm human. I'm still flesh. And sometimes I need to vent. I just need to let it go. I direct that with God, but what's normal is to go do that stuff in our marriage, which it's not appropriate to do those things there.
Yeah. I've done that many times. She'll let off steam. She may say something very mean, and I don't react. And if I have to, like you said, I'll go to the bathroom. I'll go in my garage. I may hit the punching bag for a few minutes. But
1,000,000%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think God created gyms so they're to be empty. That's a great place for women and men both, but especially for men, because muscle building, punching bags, that's a good place for us to let off steam. And sometimes we need to do that. We don't want to do that within our marriage. What else were you going to say on that before I interrupted you?
One of the things you said was about like trying to fix my wife's problems and stuff like that. Like in the past, I mean, she would even come to me and say, "Hey, I want to do this, this, and that." And then I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." And I'm like, "All right, did you do this? Did you do that?" And, like, even though she came to me to fix it, it's like, it's not my job to like walk her through every step and control the entire process. And then,
you're not her dad. You're not her daddy. In new marriages, when you're 19, it's fun to say, "Who's your daddy?" And she's like, "You are, baby." But in a real marriage where it's going to be like a long-term relationship, the daddy role is stifling for the man. It's not even the weight you're intended to carry, and it's pressure on her. And you figured out how to give up control of her and stay in control of your own life, which makes her feel safe, right?
Yeah. It's like, I'll give an example. Like she's wanting to be a stay-at-home mom, but I also know in her mind, she flips back and forth. She's like, one day she wants to do it, one day she doesn't, and I prefer to be a stay-at-home mom, but I'm not going to make the same mistake I made in the past where I'm going to be like, "Oh, we need to do this, this, and that, so you can do this." And, when she comes home, "Oh, did you put in your 2 weeks notice? Oh, did you do that? Oh, like, no, like she'll do what she wants to do. And if she needs my help, I will do that, but I'm not going to hound her. I'm not going to pressure her. If she changes her mind, I told her what I wanted, but if she doesn't want to do that, I'm good either way. So
it's okay to express your desires, but if you want the life you're supposed to have, you've got to give up control of controlling other people. It sounds like you're really walking in that new season of your life where you see that, and that it's also okay that if she makes the wrong decision, if she fails, if she falls, if she fucks it up, you're not there controlling her. You're there to help her if she needs a hand back up. And if she needs your help or she wants your advice, she'll ask for it. Even today, I would say that I'm an expert in this part of communication and how you handle relationships because I've been teaching it so long. But even today in my own marriage, if my wife is venting to me, which she does often, I will literally, a lot of times I'll know if she's asking for my help, but sometimes I don't. And I would say 40% of the time, I'll even say, "Am I just listening to you right now? Or are you actually asking for my advice?" And, I'm the mouth in Christ. So your biggest blessing in life can be used by the enemy to be a curse. And so to make sure that my blessing, the anointing of my mouth, doesn't become a curse in my own house, I'll just ask, "Am I listening right now? You just need a vent, you just want to hear, or you want my feedback?" And I would say 90% of the time she'll say, "I'm just wanting you to listen."
I'll say I'm not perfect at this either. Like, even though I've been practicing and studying, like, there's been times where she'll say something and I'll go to fix it. And thank God I think through my leadership, she's learning to communicate too. She'll just be like, "Hey, I don't want you to fix it. I just want you to listen." I'm like, "Okay, cool. I'm listening." And then I shut up. And so that's worked out a lot better. So
let me ask you something. So you have pivoted. So you've changed because you have literally walked for a while now in the season where you understand really what does it mean to give up control, to be in control of the life that you want. Not controlling circumstances, not manipulating things, or even unintentionally manipulating people. That stuff has stopped. But now you have deciphered what does it mean to give up control, but still come in and say, "This is my opinion, this is what I think," but then leave it at that. Now that you're communicating in that way, how do people, especially your wife, respond to you differently than maybe before?
I think my wife has less pressure on her. I think before, if I stated my opinion, but then I talked about it for 20, 30 minutes, like, oh, we're going to do this and maybe we should do that, like I just state my opinion, like a couple sentences, like, hey, I prefer this and this and that. And this is why, very short to the point. And she's like, okay, it gives her time to go process it or think about it. If she has any questions, she'll usually get back to me later. She'll be like, hey, I was thinking about this and, I have this concern. And then it's another short, direct to the point, conversation. Like if she wants to have a back and forth, of course I do that. But again, it's one of those, let's not work on the marriage thing. We're trying to have fun here. So like, I try not to have these long drawn out, hard conversations all the time.
Yeah. What you're doing, instead of sucking the life out of marriage, you're learning how to have a marriage, how it's supposed to be. You're saying, this is my opinion, but you're also giving her the freedom to come back. So you actually have an opportunity, maybe for the first time in forever, where you actually have an opportunity to truly see her heart now, without her, maybe the old her had fear of being judged or condemned or shut down because her opinion wasn't in line with your opinion. Yeah. So now you have an opportunity to see your wife that's beginning to blossom up as other people around you are.
Yeah. And I think in the past, she'd have an opinion and then, I'd work to try and get it done, help her out. And then she'd change her mind. And then I'm frustrated. Like, man, I did all this and she changed her mind, now
and it was pressure on her because it made her feel like she let you down and failed.
Yeah. And now I'm like, well, she may change her mind. She may not, and I'll state my opinion. And if she wants to move forward with it, I'm sure I'm going to hear about it. I'll help her then. And I'm not like putting things off on the back burner, but I'm just, if she wants something, she's going to come to me and tell me. I know that for sure. And
well, it sounds like you've opened up the door for a lot of people to do that.
Yeah. And I don't need to be the one trying to force it down her throat. Like, that's not my job. So,
no more unintended manipulation, where I think you were doing that before, but I don't think that you saw that you were doing that because it wasn't intentional. I know it for a fact.
Yeah. I mean, because it was frustrating to me. It's like, dang, woman, I'm trying to help you. What's wrong? Like, you asked me this, and what the heck, And so
it was with a good heart and good intentions, but you were too close to your own situation to see the situation.
Yeah, I get that. Like, her feelings, they can go back and forth, and I tell her like, hey, I understand, I understand you have doubts, and, if you need reassurance, I'll reassure you and tell you what I want. And I don't say this to her, but I'm like, you take it how you want, I'll tell you my opinion, and, I'm not going to say it mean or anything. It's like, hey, this is what I believe, and I'll let her process that.
It sounds like you've made a change that very few men ever find the path to do this. And that change is that you finally have decided that it's okay being married as a man to a female.
Yeah.
Where a lot of the world is saying, I can't figure this out. So they just decide to go, take a different path, so to speak. Decide to go the rainbow flag because, well, maybe that makes sense. In some cases, it seems easier, right? But yeah, it's not, because it can be so fun once you learn how to be okay with that, to be that 20-pound ball of value that makes her feel safe. And then you're stepping back, learning, because you're giving your wife permission to show her heart to you.
Yeah. Another thing you said earlier, just letting her fail, there's been things that she's wanted to do and she's failed at it, and I'm like, I don't condemn her. I don't criticize her. I don't be like, oh, I told you so, like I probably did that in the past. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm sure I did.
You did. Yeah. I'm sure you did. Let me ask you a question. As you've made so much progress, and I know this is just the beginning for you, now that you've stepped back, and we're kind of assessing a lot of your changes on this call, but if you'll kind of like look back on where you were and where you've come up here, here, do you now see that we've led you to a path that's taught you to see the beauty in your wife, to see the beauty in her heart that you used to either got frustrated over or you completely missed it altogether? You didn't even see it, much less how beautiful it was.
Oh, before I started any programs, before I had no clue. I was like, this woman hates me. What's wrong with her? Like, why are you acting like this? And, just the more I studied, the more I learned, it started to come together, I mean, the women are going to have their moments, and as long as you can, like you said, be that 20-pound ball of volume, sometimes it turns out to be a nice night afterwards. So let me just say that. So,
yeah. And guess what? That nice night's for her too, because when you make a woman feel emotionally safe, right? When she feels safe enough to be emotionally penetrated, of course, God's designed it where the next step is just physical penetration. That's part of the beauty of it. That's why I call the spice. When you get to that level where emotional penetration is good, that's where you get to the place where you start to understand what does it mean to be somebody's soulmate. And it is possible. There's a way to actually get to that place. And I feel like you're on the path to do that and leading your wife to do the same thing, and even showing other people that are starting to see that light in you, that you pulled back the curtain and you feel vulnerable enough to serve other people with that. And then they're coming back, filling you up by showing you, I'm being served by you. Your presence is valuable to me. And so I'm reciprocating with that. And that gives value. And then you're learning something from that. You're getting insight into other people's life that are increasing in your knowledge, in your understanding, in your wisdom. This is where you go next level, which leads me to my next question. You've had a paradigm shift in your alpha energy, living strong again in a way that is righteous, masculine leadership. You're on the way to becoming a 1% of a 1%, if you're not already in fact there. You mentioned happiness, going in the bathroom, letting it all out for a minute. You mentioned earlier in the call, sometimes when you're not feeling it, you just choose to say, I'm not living my life by my feelings. I'm living my life by my goals, and I can control my feelings, including my happiness when I may not be feeling happy. Knowing that you have the power to change your thoughts, which will immediately change your feelings. Where if you're not feeling happy at the moment, but at that moment your wife is needing happy, you can choose that. I'm happy. I teach you how to do that. Go look in the mirror, hold the smile. I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. I still do this regularly. I have a life that sometimes can get complicated and stressful. Big family, 6 kids, 7 grandkids. I'm back and forth between the Puerto Rico and the States and seeing them all. And the travel and the business, sometimes that can get stressful. I know how to land the plane in my own personal life. Good, always. But then when you got that many other people coming at you, and maybe at the moment they're not happy, how do you keep your happiness when somebody else is not showing up how they should, trying to steal your peace? You figured out how to do that. What does that happiness look like for you as a man now compared to the old you?
I guess I would say, I try not, if my wife's unhappy or my kids or other people are unhappy, I don't take it as like a personal attack on me anymore. I'm like, okay, there's something. Well, first I try to evaluate myself. Okay, did I actually do something wrong? Did I actually screw something up?
Did you contribute to it?
Yeah. And if I didn't, then I'm like, okay, then that's on them. I'll try and console them. But if not, I can't control how they feel. So I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go watch my favorite TV show. I'm going to go, go to my favorite restaurant. I'm going to call one of my boys. I'm going to go do something fun. And then, usually when I get back, a lot of times the problem's cleared up. A lot of times my wife's like, hey, I'm sorry. I was in a bad mood, and that's it. And then it's fine. In the past, I would just take it so personal. What's wrong with her? And like you said, that was putting my happiness, responsibility of my happiness on her,
Yeah. What you've decided to do is put your oxygen mask on first, go save yourself, and everybody else. I don't know if you're seeing this yet, but even if you're not seeing it, it does already exist. When you make a decision to do that, the other people are made to feel safe by that leadership because they see it. And it makes your family feel safe. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so putting on that, so how do you put on the oxygen mask first? Is there something I need to repent? You assess the situation. Did I fuck up and I need to go repent and fix what I did? Apologize for how I made somebody else. Oh, wait, it has nothing to do with me. I need to get out of the way and let them have the freedom to be themselves. And I need to go make sure that I'm managing my emotions, managing my body, managing my spirituality. Well, how do you do that? A gym is a great place to do that. You're literally increasing your testosterone in the gym. You're getting the endorphins back up. You're managing your mind to make sure you get the dopamine to be happy. It's called managing your body. So many people want to hang on to these stories. Well, Denver, you don't know why I'm overweight. I have diabetes. That's a truth. But how long are you going to hold on to that truth that's holding you back from taking the steps that maybe you have to take to manage your body so that you can have the marriage that you want, that other people don't have to take? Just because something's true is not the reason to hold on to it as a truth why it's holding you back in any area of your life. For anybody watching this video right now, if there's any area of your life that's lacking, your health, your wealth, your relationships, your spirituality, any of those areas that you have a justifiable reason why you're not living the life that you want, holding on to the excuses, whether they're true or not, is going to cost you and the people you love everything. And here's why. They're just reasons. And even the best reason in the world is still just an excuse. You don't have the marriage you want? Learn how to manage your mind. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Learn how to manage your body, your emotions, your mind. You don't have the health that you want? How many people would know? Very few people would know this about me. I am a diagnosed narcoleptic. Depression genetically runs in my family. I have severe debilitating rheumatoid and osteoarthritis. All this stuff going on. Seasonal affective disorder and ADD. That's 6 medical symptoms that for years I held on. All of that's true. Guess what? I was constantly in chronic pain. I was grumpy. I was in a bad mood. I wasn't focused. I couldn't stay awake. I was bedridden and I was fat. But I had reasons to justify being that. But who was that serving? That was a miserable fat fucker that couldn't stay awake and was depressed. And while I had reasons that were valid, they were medically diagnosed, they were true, guess what happened? One day I said, this is not the life I want. This is not the relationships I want. There's things that I can do to manage my body that other people don't have to do to have the same result. But I have an opportunity to do it because I'm still breathing. There's things that I can do by thinking outside of the box, by finding other people that have been in my shoes. They felt hopeless because they couldn't stay awake and they figured out how to fix it, right? The doctor don't have enough sense to tell you how to fix it sometimes. Sometimes they do, but more often than not, they just treat symptoms. They want to give you another pill and that leads to another side effect. It leads to another symptom. Every area of your life that you're holding on to a truth that's holding you back, not only is it costing you your entire life, it's costing the people that you have relationships, your friends, your family. It's costing them the same price. Everybody's paying the price with you because you're holding on to excuses that while they may be true, they're still just a fucking excuse. Manage your mind, manage your body, manage your emotions, manage your health, and manage your relationships. And I realize a lot of you listening to this like, well, how do I do it? Guess what? If there's any area of my life that I want to go to the next level and improve it, I hire a coach for it. I don't hold on to excuses. I'll give you the perfect example. I was feeling of the back of my heels today. I'm 51 years old. The back of my heels are cracked, like they have big cracks in them. They've been that way since I was a kid. My mama's heels were cracked. It's physically painful to me. I want to go walk on the beach this afternoon with my wife. There's the beach right there. We're coming out of the side effects of a hurricane here in Puerto Rico. But I think my wife was saying something to me and my first thought was to say, my heels are cracked. It's going to hurt me. Like, I don't know if I can do our normal beach walk today. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to walk the beach walk in physical pain. And tonight, before I go to sleep, I am going to find a health coach that has dealt with cracked heels because I have seen 4 damn doctors and none of them could help me get my heels healed up. There is somebody on this earth that has been where I am with their heels and has taken their foot health to where I want to go. And I'm going to find that person because that's wisdom And that's me letting go of that story that's costing me the life that I want to have. If there's any area of your life that you're being held back, whether there's a valid reason to do it, it's within your ability to change it by choosing to become resourceful, by finding somebody that has the wisdom that can help you do that. That's been where you're at, and they've taken that area of their life where you want to take yours. If you're already in a situation where you thought you found that person, but it was the wrong person and it didn't work, find somebody else. Let go of that story too. Alpha energy. How has your outlook on life and your vision about the rest of your life expanded since you've started this journey of rebuilding and rebranding yourself? Vance.
I feel like I can pretty much accomplish anything. I've been very successful in other areas of my life, but I think this kind of opened my eyes. I can be even more successful. I can branch out and get other relationships that I never even thought to do, or, thought it was beneath me or a waste of my time. I just feel like my life's going to go on up and up from here. And I feel like I think when I first started this program, I was severely depressed, and I think I know how to keep myself out of that hole. Like you said, I tried to figure out as many ways as possible to be happy, to be uplifting, to be energetic. I do the same thing when I go home. I look in the rearview mirror, I smile, and I hold that smile. I did meditation for a little while. I even did ice baths. If I down and out, I jump in an ice bath for 5 minutes. That wakes your ass right up and gets you going. I've done all types of crazy stuff, and some of it sticks, some of it helps, but I've learned to not have an excuse to be depressed. I got to be happy. I got to do what I need to do, regardless of what's going on in my life. And so I think with that, whatever gets thrown at me, I know something's going to get thrown at me eventually. It's just going to happen. But I know how to get back up, and I know how to not let it put me back in that hole. So
I love that. Let me go ahead.
No, I was just saying I've been in that hole a couple times and I've gotten out. So I think I've gotten pretty good at it.
Yeah. Depending on where you were in that hole, I know when I was in the hole, there literally, if I turned around, there was no down. I was at the bottom of it. There was no place to look but up. And I refuse to ever even go down 1 inch anymore, because you don't have to.
Yeah. So, and I keep trying to look for ways to just improve, there's stuff I'm still not good at. I note it, document it. I try to pick something and get better at it, So
let me ask you a question here in closing. And I don't really know what you would say about this. You can share this if you want. Where do you think you would be if the algorithm never served up my videos on YouTube, and you would to book the strategy session call with us, and then ended up becoming a student in the program, meeting the other students, going on the coaching calls, going through the teaching, getting support when you needed it. If something felt like it wasn't working, it wasn't clicking, figuring out, did you need to change something? Were you doing it right? Were you doing it wrong? Where do you feel like you'd be if you would have never found that first YouTube video? I'm assuming that was my video on YouTube that you mentioned.
I think either the marriage could be completely over, or it took me way longer than it needed to.
And where do you feel like you would be personally outside of the marriage in your mind compared to where you are now?
I think I would have been that same guy who just was focused on myself, not other people. I probably would have been stuck up my kids' butt now that my wife was gone,
Mm-hmm. Pressuring with them, which is normal.
Yeah. Justifying hey, I'm serving my family, I'm doing the right thing, which, that's what I thought. I think that's probably where I would be,
Let me ask you this. Are you okay sharing the ages of your children?
Yeah. They're 20, 17, 14, and 11.
So you still have children at home. That was a question. So you got children that are home, and then you have adult children that may be kind of in between, whatever with that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that your changes that you've made with the ability now to see how you used to think you were helping people, but in fact it was coming across as controlling? Do you think that the influence that you still have on the children that are younger, even on the children that are a little bit older, do you think your new leadership is going to affect how they turn out going into adulthood? And if so, you want to elaborate on that?
I know they share with me a lot more than they used to. I think it'll help them out emotionally to see a man properly lead his family. Because back in the day, I was just kind of I was wanting to help my kids. They played travel sports, and I was pushing them to do good in that, pushing them to do good in school, and I wasn't a very encouraging person. I was more of a down to business
controller.
Yeah. Hey, I got results. My kids were the best softball players. They could hit a softball a mile, but yeah, the way I went about it was probably not the best.
Would you say that the transition has positioned it so now they can kind of bloom into who they're supposed to be as an adult and grow and learn, instead of you controlling the situation to get the outcome, where when they're off on their own, they're not going to necessarily know how to recreate that without becoming controlling themselves? And because you've changed, ultimately, you might have changed your legacy for your family. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've, kind of learned to let go, be there for my kids and, help them with whatever decision they make. But again, I don't have to be there every single step, controlling every single step, saying, you need to do this, you need to do that. Did you do this today? Did you do that today? It's like, I think some of my kids have actually learned, like they'll do it on their own now. They don't have to have me there every step of the way. I think I was
are you saying they're becoming more mature? They're growing as into adults instead of you're raising children?
Yeah.
You're raising adults, right? You're raising humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Let me ask you one final question, and then I'll let you share anything else that you want to, if there's anything else you want to add. Imagine right now that you're looking into the eyes of a man that literally is facing, in his eyes, game over. He's losing everything. He's losing his family. He might be losing his wealth. He might be losing his wife. He might be losing his kids. It looks like everything that he's ever cared about is about to walk out the door, or it's already walked out the door. You actually have been in another program. You've tried some other things. You had some successes with it, some areas that you felt like you might have needed something different. So you have become resourceful, where you've shopped the market. Probably even more than I do, what kind of resources are out there to help men who are lacking in leadership and lacking in the areas of their life that's required in order for the scales to come off their eyes so they can see their situations and see the opportunities to help them let go of the stories, to give up control of other people, to be in control, to take their life back. Right now, the man you're looking at, his life is on a train going to hell, and he has tried everything to stop it, to slow it down, to turn it around, but he just doesn't know how, and he's at the point of giving up. What advice would you give that guy specifically, and why?
I would just tell them, so I'd imagine people that are going into these programs are good men, or they wouldn't be going into these programs to begin with. But they have to realize that they are doing things wrong. They may not know it, but they're doing things wrong. And so as I went through the program, and started listening to the videos and going through the stuff, it was like, oh yeah, I'm screwing that up. Oh yeah, I'm screwing that up. Like, it just opens your eyes, and if you're willing to take the coaching and implement it, things will change. There's a lot of other men out there that won't be able to compete with what you're going to learn. And, don't think that you know everything and that you're just the perfect person. You're not. Trust me, once you go through the program, you're just going to start seeing, yeah, I'm screwing that up. I'm screwing that up. I'm screwing that up. Doesn't make you a bad person. It's just, you didn't know. And even for me, I thought I was like, man, I'm trying. I love my wife. I'm doing this for her, but then you realize, oh man, I'm totally screwing that up, and once you realize that, you can make things happen. You just got to get out of your depressed state and get it done. And it's possible. Trust me. My marriage was pretty screwed up. So, and, it's back on track. So,
well, brother, we're here. Go ahead.
And I'll just say one thing, in the last couple of weeks, it's been weird because in the past, I would try and change my wife. I'd be like, oh yeah, look at this marriage book. Yeah, you want to read this marriage book? All right, we'll read it together. Like, oh yeah, look at that submission part. Oh yeah, look at this part. Like, oh, aren't you learning anything? Now I don't even say anything. Like the other day, she was like, oh yeah, I was on this website and I think we need to do this and that for our relationship. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool, babe. She looks it up on her own now. Like I'm not.
Isn't it a beautiful thing when somebody teaches you how to stop making it about the marriage and start making it about the person?
Yeah.
To truly see who's been in front of you for a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, that you've never seen through the set of eyes that the goal inside this program is to give you. Isn't that like such empowering and so freeing that it's not about the marriage? I'll give you an example. If you look at, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, seek ye first the kingdom and all of these things will be given to you. Did you know if you look for any commercial advertising the Bahamas, the sandals in the Bahamas, you will never see who is the president of the Bahamas, where is the city council in Freeport, who is the governor, where's the government buildings. You'll never see any advertisements advertising the government in the Bahamas. What are they selling on the commercials to attract people? They're selling the kingdom. They're selling the conch shells. They're selling the turquoise ocean, the boats out fishing, the moonlit walks on the beach with the low tide. That's the kingdom. So what do I mean by that? Tying that back to marriage, making it about the person, which is what brings joy to your life and brings joy to their life. That's the kingdom. And when you seek the kingdom first, the government, the marriage will just be on point. But focusing on the government, let me reword that so I land the plane correctly here. Working on the marriage is always what doesn't work. Hang out, have fun, hook up, and the government takes care of itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like I said, just it was tough for a little while, but now it's starting to come together. And like I said, she's actually putting in some of the work now. She's more playful. She's more, feminine. She's actually contributing like, oh, we should do this, we should do that. She's like, oh, I have a date planned for us. I'm like, you haven't planned a date for us in a long time. I was always trying to do that. Now she's like more invested and I'm not even, not forcing anything down her throat like I used to. Like it's just happening.
You're living proof of what I say all the time, that a marriage will never be restored or be healthy if somebody is at a place where the pressure has been applied so long that they want out. You'll never restore the marriage changing yourself. What restores a marriage is making changes in your leadership to the point that they change themselves. You know what I do for a living? I'm not a men's marriage coach. I help women and children have the life that they're supposed to have by putting a good man that walks in righteous leadership in their house. I help women and children. That's what I do. That's my anointing. That's my calling. I just do it without meeting the women and children. Sometimes I meet them on these calls, but that's what I do for a living, and that's my passion. It's to truly, truly, truly help women be positioned so they step into their anointing and their calling. That's my goal of this program. How do I do that? By getting the man to see. And once you have a man that sees, that can change lives for generations to come. And so it's just a very, very beautiful thing. And you're walking in that. So keep it up, brother, because listen, I think you're just now at the process where you are just at the beginning of starting to see. In the program I'm teaching you, the 90-day letter, rewrite that 90-day letter to yourself every 90 days, because knowing what you know now, you have a responsibility to keep that up because you're just at the beginning of your journey, brother. You get that, right?
I've got that a long time ago. It's like that. You just got to keep improving. I mean, can't sit still. That's not what a masculine man does.
You need to put time on your side, and you need to do it fast. You can book a free strategy session call with me or my team. My video editor is putting a QR code up, and we're also going to put the link to book a call with us in the actual description of this video. That's one thing you can do. I would pause the video and go do that right now, because those calls book up fast, and we have limited seats available for the calls this week. After you do that, there's something else that I would recommend that you do. If you know that you're struggling in communication and you're dealing with confirmation bias and you're not sure how to navigate those waters, I have a free marriage U-turn masterclass that addresses that specifically. My video editor is going to put below that or somewhere else on the screen here a second QR code for the free marriage U-turn masterclass. I am teaching that 16 more times live this week. In that free masterclass, you can engage with me, ask me questions, and I'm going to give you some practical action steps that you can start taking right now to turn all of this around if you've been making all of the mistakes that I'm talking about in this video. And if you're laying awake at night trying to figure out how your wife can act like she's totally fine while you're falling apart, at the end of this video, my video editor is going to give you a little screen pop. Click on that video, and that's going to give you some insight into what she's thinking, why you think that everything is kosher in her eyes when it's actually not. Don't forget, if you know you need the free communication training, please put that in the comments so that you don't miss out on it.